Picture this. It's October 2014, and the Annapurna Circuit in Nepal is buzzing with excitement. Trekkers from all over the world are lacing up their boots, ready to tackle one of the most epic trails on the planet. Now, if you've never heard of the Annapurna Circuit, let me paint you a picture. Picture walking through lush forests one day, and the next, you're surrounded by towering snow-capped peaks. It's like Mother Nature decided to show off all her best work in one place. The trail stretches for about 230 kilometers. That's roughly 145 miles for our American friends. Most people take about 2 to 3 weeks to complete it. And let me tell you, every single day is an adventure. But here's the kicker. The real test comes when you reach the Rangla Pass at a whopping 5,416 meters. Or 17,769 feet. This bad boy is no joke. The air up there is so thin, you'll be gasping like a fish out of water. But man, the view from the top, it's like you've stepped into another world. October is usually prime time for trekking in Nepal. The monsoon rains have packed up and gone home, leaving behind clear skies and crisp mountain air. It's like nature's saying, "Come on in, the weather's fine." All along the trail, you'll find these cozy little tea houses. They're like the Himalayan version of a bed and breakfast, but way more rustic. Picture yourself huddled around a fire, swapping stories with fellow trekkers from every corner of the globe. It's the kind of place where you arrive as strangers and leave as friends. Among the crowd that October were Mor and Oleg, a pair of newlyweds from Israel. Most couples might choose a beach for their honeymoon, but not these two. They wanted their first adventure as a married couple to be epic. And boy, did they get more than they bargained for. These guys weren't messing around. They'd spent months getting ready, hitting the gym, breaking in their hiking boots, the works. They even hired a local guide to make sure they didn't end up lost in the middle of nowhere. As Mor and Oleg set off on their trek, the weather forecasts looked pretty standard. A bit of snow at higher altitudes, but nothing to write home about. Little did they know that thousands of miles away, a monster of a storm was brewing in the Indian Ocean. Cyclone Hudhud was about to change everything. October 14th, 2014. The day started like any other on the Annapurna Circuit. Trekkers woke up, packed their bags, and hit the trail. The sky was clear, the air was crisp, perfect hiking weather. But high above the oblivious trekkers, something sinister was happening. Remember that cyclone I mentioned? Well, it had just slammed into the coast of India. As it moved inland, it started pushing a massive amount of warm, moist air towards the Himalayas. And when that warm air hit the freezing mountain winds, boom, the perfect storm. At first, it seemed like just another snowfall. No big deal, right? But within hours, all hell broke loose. The wind picked up, howling like a pack of angry wolves. Snow started falling so thick and fast, you could barely see your hand in front of your face. The temperature plummeted, turning the paradise into a frozen nightmare. Imagine being caught in that. 1 minute, you're enjoying the view, the next, you're fighting for your life in a whiteout. Trails disappeared under the snow. Familiar landmarks vanished. It was like being dropped into a blank white void. Panic spread faster than the storm. Some trekkers tried to turn back. Others pushed forward, desperately hoping to reach the next shelter. But with every step, the snow got deeper. It was like trying to walk through quicksand. And then came the avalanches. The combination of heavy snow and strong winds had created a deadly recipe. Without warning, massive slabs of snow broke free from the mountainsides. These weren't your run-of-the-mill snow slides. We're talking walls of snow and ice, powerful enough to sweep away everything in their path. Trekkers, guides, even yaks carrying supplies. Nothing stood a chance against these monsters. And for those who managed to avoid being buried, the sound alone was enough to freeze your blood. Imagine hearing that rumble and knowing that at any moment you could be next. Now, let's check back in with our newlyweds, Mor and Oleg. Remember them? They were about to have the honeymoon from hell. When the storm hit, They were somewhere between two shelters. Their guide, despite years of experience, had never seen anything like this. As visibility dropped to zero, he made the call to push on, hoping to reach the next tea house. But the storm had other plans. They were trudging through knee-deep snow when they heard it, that heart-stopping roar of an avalanche. Before they could even react, a wave of snow slammed into them. Moore was swept off her feet, tumbling through the snow like a rag doll. In seconds, she was buried, trapped in a world of white, unable to move, barely able to breathe. Can you think of the terror? Knowing that with each passing second, your chances of survival are ticking away? Oleg and their guide had somehow managed to stay on top of the snow. But now they face a race against time. They dug frantically, calling Moore's name, praying for a miracle. And then, a hand. Oleg grabbed it and pulled with all his might. Moore burst from her icy prison, gasping for air. She was alive, but they were far from safe. Night was falling, the storm was getting worse, and they were exhausted. Their guide, proving his worth, led them on an alternate route, away from the avalanche-prone areas. Every step was agony. Their bodies were numb, their minds foggy from cold and fatigue. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, they saw it. A tiny tea house, almost buried in snow. Smoke was rising from the chimney. It was like finding an oasis in the desert. They stumbled inside, collapsing by the fire. They had made it. But outside, in the darkness, the storm raged on. And not everyone would be as lucky. The storm that hit Annapurna lasted for days. When it finally cleared, the true scale of the disaster became apparent. Rescue teams from Nepal and around the world launched a massive operation. Helicopters braved treacherous conditions, scouring the mountains for survivors. But for many, help came too late. The final death toll was staggering. 43 people lost their lives. Trekkers, guides, locals. The storm didn't discriminate. Many more suffered severe frostbite, losing fingers and toes to the brutal cold. This tragedy sent shockwaves through the mountaineering community. How could something like this happen on one of the world's most popular trekking routes? It forced a hard look at safety measures and weather forecasting in the Himalayas. Moore and Oleg, they made it out alive, but they were changed forever. What was supposed to be a celebration of their new life together had turned into a fight for survival. In the years since, they have shared their story, hoping to raise awareness about the dangers of high-altitude trekking. You might think that after something like this, people would stay away from Annapurna. But here's the thing. The human spirit is incredibly resilient. The Annapurna Circuit is still one of the most popular treks in the world. Every year, thousands of adventurers set out to challenge themselves against its peaks and passes. But now, there's a new respect for the mountains. Trekkers come better prepared, more aware of the risks. The Nepalese government has improved weather forecasting and emergency response systems. The tragedy of 2014 serves as a constant reminder that in the mountains, you can never be too careful. The Annapurna Circuit remains a place of breathtaking beauty. On a clear day, you can see some of the world's highest peaks. Dhaulagiri, Annapurna Babasars, Mainaslu, giants that scrape the sky at over 8,000 meters. It's a place where you can push your limits, test your endurance, and experience nature in its rawest form. But it's also a place that demands respect. Because when you're up there, surrounded by those towering peaks, you realize just how small we really are. The mountains don't care about our plans or our dreams. They operate on their own terms, and we're just visitors in their world. The blizzard of 2014 was a tragic reminder of this truth. It showed us that even on well-traveled paths, nature can turn deadly in an instant. It taught us that in the face of such power, survival often comes down to preparation, quick thinking, and sometimes just plain luck. So, what can we learn from this? First, always respect the mountains. No matter how experienced you are, never underestimate them. Second, be prepared. Have the right gear, know how to use it, and always have a backup plan. And third, listen to the locals and your guides. They know these mountains better than anyone. As we wrap up this story, I want you to take a moment and think about Moore and Oleg and all the others who were on Annapurna that day. Think about the strength it took to survive and the courage it takes to share their stories. And if you're ever lucky enough to trek the Annapurna Circuit yourself, take a moment when you reach the Rangla Pass. Look out at that incredible view, feel the thin air in your lungs, and remember those who came before you. Remember that every step you take is a privilege, and that the greatest adventure often comes with the greatest risk.